Hi, my name's Proto-Magical Girl, and this is The Girl and the Robot current patch. So The Girl and the Robot is an indie PC game released by Flying Carpets Games in 2016 for PC, PlayStation 4, and Wii U. The PC version is fairly significantly different than the console version, so that's all I'm going to be discussing in this video. In general, the mouse allows us a lot more movement freedom that makes this a really cool speedrun. So The Girl and the Robot is an action-adventure slash two-body puzzler game. So as the title implies, there's a girl and a robot. This is the girl. The girl can jump, she can run, she can move pretty fast in general, she can crawl through tight spaces are her abilities. We'll be seeing the robot in just a couple seconds here, in that cage in fact. The robot moves rather slowly, but can do combat, can push heavy objects, and has a really neat dash. It doesn't actually move very fast, but what it does allow us to do is cancel animations. So you'll probably noticing that I'm jumping. The girl moves faster when jumping, so I'm going to be jumping at pretty much every point during this run when I'm using the girl. Here with the robot, we're going to do our very first dash cancel. In order to do that, it's actually fairly specific. You have to click the mouse to swing your sword, then tap a direction, and then press the dash button space. We're going to be using that dash cancel again here to do combat very, very quickly. Small error there, no big deal. Then we're going to walk into this loading zone. It is faster to walk over there with the robot than come back with the girl. So this game has a relatively small community. It's just 3 of us running current patch currently, but we've been working hard, especially over the past couple weeks when myself and Dalador started running the game, which has brought Perkis, the current world record holder, back. As we progress further into the first part of the run, Prison Towers, I'd like to take a second to talk about what current patch means. Current patch is the category for patches 1.005 and 1.06. Patch 1.005 made some very significant changes to the game, particularly regarding how the enemy AI operates and essentially preventing us from manipulating it as much. It also added some new textures that are a lot nicer. So at the top of this elevator, we're going to be doing our first death warp. This death warp is going to skip having the girl send the elevator back down and having the robot ride it all the way back up, allowing us to have both characters up there a lot faster than we would with how the game intends us to progress. The robot can also carry the girl, which is pretty great. So here we have our first split action section. A big theme of this game is splitting the girl and the robot up to do separate tasks. The girl is going to open this door, and then the robot is going to head around up this tower. In Legacy, we used to actually bring the girl around here because the AI was more manipulatable. Unfortunately, we can't do that anymore, but it's no big deal. This enemy is super useless. Not that useless, I think, in this run, actually. Yeah, I actually managed to get hit once. That doesn't happen often. So the girl, or the robot, excuse me, is going to climb up this tower and stand on a switch over here, which is going to allow the girl to progress. Then the girl is going to climb the tower, and we're actually going to have our first skip, which means I need to talk about the checkpoint and save system in this game. So progress in this game is very strictly tied to the save system. You have to hit each save point in order, or the run will not progress. If you hit a save point before you're supposed to, it won't save, the game won't progress, interactable objects won't be interactable. So we're going to go over here, hit a save point. You're intended to use the robot in this section. Instead, we can just jump around there. I don't quite make that jump. It's a bit difficult. The hitbox of the wall extends a little bit outward, as you could probably tell, but you jump right around there. And that skips a big section of the robot doing a bunch of combat in this area in order to pull the switch and open the door for the girl to head on through. One really nice thing about this game, as you just saw, is deaths are very, very fast in this game. There's no quick save or quick load, as you might expect from a PC game like this, but in almost every case where we can potentially die, there's very, very little time loss to actually dying. We're going to do another death warp here. This one's the same one as before, because I don't think I actually explained this properly. When you hit a save point and respawn, that save point has associated positions for the girl and the robot. So by hitting that save point and then dying, we essentially bring the robot up to there. That is a trick we will be using many, many times throughout this run. So here is the floor puzzle. Admittedly, one of the more frustrating parts of this run. There's 3 patterns you can get. The girl is going to press this switch, and it's going to reveal which of the 3 patterns the robot is going to have to walk on the floor tiles. If you get it wrong, your run is not over, but you'll have to restart. Luckily, you can hear the puzzle reveal actually rotating. It can only be one of 3 solutions. So if you memorize each of the 3 solutions, like all of us runners have, you can use an audio cue instead of a visual cue to decide which solution it was and execute it as I just did there. There's no major time loss depending on which pattern you get. It's just fractions of a second. So you're intended to bring both the girl and the robot up here. As you'd expect from a 2-body puzzle game, there's 2 body switches. However, you can just walk over them like that. I believe that's the only time in the run we'll be seeing this trick. So this is section 2 of the run. This is Town. Town used to be maybe the most boring part of the run, but thanks to the newest runner of the game, who admittedly has a better PB than me already, because they're really talented, Dalador, we actually have a new strat here. Dalador theorized that you could actually damage boost here. From here until the end of the laser puzzle segment, as you can see on my split, is the longest, essentially single segment of the game where we're not going to be death warping or anything like that. So on respawn from a death or reloading the game, everything gets reset back to its, expected position, as I mentioned. This includes the robot's health. So the girl will die instantly if caught by an enemy or by taking fall damage or anything like that. The robot actually has 3 health, that it can lose before dying, and in order to lose health in this game, you have to get hit enough that your health indicator turns red and then get hit again. So we just lost a piece of armor. We're going to lose our other 2 pieces of armor, and you'll see why in a second. This time loss may seem like a lot, but it is worth it, because now we run comically fast. This is something that Dalador discovered, and I never even knew about in my casual playthrough of the game. When Dalador first proposed the strat, I said, no, with all the time it takes to damage boost, there's no way that it's actually faster. Then I actually tried it myself and was frankly instantly certain that it would be faster with how comically fast the robot runs. We're going to do a small skip here. Jumping around from this window skips having to send the robot through that house that we jumped around to do a little bit of combat. Get the girl up here, and then the robot is going to push these blocks. As I said, you are stuck to the intended path of the game in terms of save points. So we have to go up around here. This robot is going to come after us. You have to hit this switch, then the robot is going to fire an arrow through here. Once again, we're going to use the dash cancel that I mentioned. Fire the arrow, tap a direction, and tap space. And then we're going to backstab this robot. And this is going to allow us to progress into the next section of the game, the laser puzzles. So this is where the time save comes in for damage boosting. You actually lose time in the castle town segment of the game for how long the damage boosting takes, but with how much walking the robot has to do in this next section, it ends up being more than worth it. So we're going to head down onto the laser puzzle section. The gimmick of this section, as I've implied, is these laser switches. And as is typical with a 2-body puzzle game, it's going to require to use both characters. I made a minor error there. If you step on a switch that's sequential in the order before stepping on the one before it, it won't actually be able to light up when you light up the first one, so I actually had to switch around a little bit there. No big deal. But with how fast the robot is moving right now, we end up saving a lot of time in this segment, excuse me. So the girl can run through here, and then she's going to hold down the switch for the robot, and then we have our second point of randomness in the run. Not very much. So there's 3 possible positions that guard robot we just spotted can spawn in. This is unfortunately the worst position, where we actually have to walk over here and open the gates and fight it. Once again, we're going to use dash canceling to make this a little bit easier. I couldn't really avoid taking a hit there, so that's not a big deal. And then we can proceed with the puzzle as normal. Once we finish this puzzle, though, we're actually going to be doing another small skip. We've lovingly named it Gate Hack after the similar trick in Yoshi's Island. You'll see why. What the game intends us to do here is open the door in front of the robot and then alternate that switch again. But instead, we can do this in order to open that gate. Just like that, by hitting it and then dashing to the side. You can skip having to do that. So, we just did all of this laser puzzle stuff, and the reason we did this is because I mentioned the save system. Most of the saves in this game are positional. You reach a certain spot, and that's where the save is. There's a few throughout the game that are actually event-based. This is one of them. We need to bring the robot over here in order to progress the game. That being said, now that we've done this, it's time for our first major skip. This is called Town Skip. It's going to allow us to skip... It's actually a bit of a misleading name because it's going to allow us to skip the rest of the laser puzzles. So first we're going to do a relatively tight jump. Unfortunately, I don't get it first try. The hitbox on this switch isn't super large. And then we're going to jump around the roof here, this kind of castle wall. And after doing all this, we are going to do what I like to call the zombie hover. More literal of a zombie hover than in Wind Waker or in any other game with that sort of trick, because you literally rise up through a graveyard, tap that save point, and then progress the game by pushing this switch. And now that we've done that, we can proceed with Town Skip, where we're going to jump onto this bit of geometry. This jump is a little bit difficult. You have to have the highest height on that diagonal. Jump along this fence, onto the peaks of this wall, off of the tree, which is deceptively difficult. The tree is a little bit weird. Those fabric roofs actually break the girl's fall damage. The girl can die from fall damage, as you saw earlier, so we have to jump onto that roof in order to progress the game. Then we head up here to hit another save point. And then we're actually going to go right back down, jump up this thing. Something worth noting in this game is that if there is a sloped surface, the girl can go up it. It does not matter how steep that slope is. You're going to be seeing this in action an additional time in this run a bit later. We're going to jump through there to hit another save point, and now we're in this next area. This is going to be the mid-game boss's arena. However, as you can see from the names of my splits, we're going to skip this boss. If you've played this game casually, you know this boss fight is incredibly tedious. It would probably take 5 or 6 minutes to do just by itself. So we're going to progress the game as intended for now. We're going to bring the girl up here to fire this cannon, and then we're going to use the robot to position the cannon by using these arrow-operated switches, once again taking advantage of dash canceling to move the robot a little bit in the right direction every time. So now the girl's going to fire the cannon, which is going to open a gate to our right, and we're going to do this one more time. And then what's going to happen is the game wants you to then walk out of this arena and go press some two-body switches to open a gate and then walk through it, and the save point is after the gate. Conveniently, the two-body switches aren't actually required. It's simply walking past them that is. So, by taking advantage of our very, very free movement in this game, we're going to head in this direction. Loud sound. Very loud sound. We're going to jump around the gate blocked by the two-body switches here, break our fall damage on those blocks, and then we're going to jump on this fence and jump around this tower. The save point is just beyond here. And then we're supposed to find out that we can't actually progress any further, so we have to head back to the arena and do the boss fight. So what we're going to do is climb this mountain. Like I said, you can jump up any slope with the girl. All you have to do is hold run and then tap jump at the right spot on the wall. This wall is rather easy to climb. I make a small error there, but in general, this wall will kind of lead you where you need to go. Get the girl up here. We're going to switch to the robot in order to hit the next save point. It's, like I said, you have to hit every save, so we head over here. That gate closes because, yeah. And then to skip the boss, we are going to jump into the loading zone for the next area. So now we are in Maze. This area by itself is about a quarter of the run, and it's maybe the most difficult quarter for a newer perspective runner. This area is almost entirely skipped. As you can see, we've completely left the robot behind. For most of the rest of the run, we're basically only going to be using the girl. Because the girl can skip almost everything, and pretty much everything in Maze is positional triggers. As in, you just need to be in a certain physical location in order to trigger the save. So we're going to cut through this first maze area, jump up on this thing, skip around that wall, head through here to hit our first save point. The routing in Maze is almost entirely based on save point management. So unfortunately, we get kind of unlucky there. A robot spawned up there, no big deal. We jump around here onto this staircase, and then head for our next jump. Unfortunately, I have a little bit of trouble with that jump in this run. This jump is rather finicky. Jumping off of the little edges of stuff is a bit challenging in this game. The momentum can be kind of strange. Hit another save point, and then we're going to use this white ball, which you'll see one of later in the run. You're intended to shoot it with an arrow with the robot, and that starts a timer. Hit that save point. We've hit all of the save points, which means the game thinks we've progressed naturally to this area. You're intended to head down here from a different location and do a complex puzzle that essentially switches the positions of the girl and the robot. However, we're going to skip that entirely by jumping on this vine and going up here and skipping over the rest of this bit of maze, heading onto this next sort of island. This is where you'd go after the switching puzzle. there's going to be a cutscene here that we're going to skip. In the intended path of the game, the girl is supposed to run around this island being chased by robots, and the robot has to fire a cannon in order to open and close some gates. So what we just did there was jump around a cutscene by doing movement over the top of those hatches, basically. And like I described in my submission text, there's your purple robot conga line. And then after getting past the cutscene, we then basically jumped down to where that elevator would have taken us, which is where the next save is. Then we jump off an edge to get to the next save point. It seems that the game doesn't consider vertical position for that particular save, so you can jump down and then get teleported up. We're running on the edge of this platform because that's going to actually break the AI of these robots. Until we're standing on what they register as solid ground, they won't move because they won't be able to path to us. We've now finished almost the entirety of the maze. The last things we need to do here for the maze are, first, a small death warp. There's a save point here that's going to actually respawn us across the bridge, so it was much faster. And then we have this last single puzzle. This is basically your standard Legend of Zelda step on every tile without repeating one puzzle, except you have to do half of the tiles with each character and half with the others. If you mess up in this room, a really unpleasant loud noise plays, and it's really sad. However, with some precise movement and wiggling of the mouse, we can just do this. There's a couple different routes for this room. This one ends up being the fastest because it puts the robot right in the right position for us to take it over here. Hit the switch. The robot is the only character that can hit those switches, so we need to take the robot. But then, once again, now that we are in the second part of the town area, I like to call this one Castle Town, we're going to ignore the robot completely and take the girl. We have to hit this bell to open the door to the next area. You're intended to take the robot and go fight all of these purple glowing robots, more or less, or at least dodge around them with the girl. But what we're going to do instead is jump off of this tree, then onto this wall. And by going around this pillar here, we break the path that the AI expects us to take. So none of them know what to do, and they just don't move. They also can't catch the girl. If the girl gets anywhere near any of the enemy robots in the game, that's an instant reset to your save. That's a game over. They pick her up, and that's it. However, those robots can't do it because they don't know what they're doing. So this is Castle. In the legacy run of this game, this was the run killer. This was one of the longest segments of the game. Now, in current patch, that's not the case. So first, we're going to do a death warp here. What this is going to do is not change the girl's position, but actually change the robots. And the reason we do this, we want to bring the robot over there to hit that switch. The order of the switch between characters is intentional. It actually skips some cutscenes. Put the girl in this elevator. The end of the game starts when you get into those elevators, and then we walk on water. So this is a current patch exclusive trick. In 1.005, the developers added a new texture to this water that looks a lot nicer. It's a little bit higher than the old texture, but they didn't actually raise the kill plane. So we can just walk on this water and skip the entirety of the castle puzzles. Also, I dashed off the edge onto the water, dashing off a ledge as the robot cancels fall stun. And now, we've got both characters up here. We can press these switches to enter the final boss battle. The final boss battle of this game is rather challenging. You're intended to take the girl to a safe spot in the room and then go fight the Dark Witch as the robot. What we're going to do instead, I made a small mistake there, no big deal. Like I said, deaths in this game are very, very fast. Instead of taking the girl to the intended safe spots, we're actually going to hang her just off the edge of this platform over here. This is a recent setup for this fight. The robots can't get the girl there. And then we're going to do each of the 3 phases of the boss, only as the robot, never moving the girl. You can get a dash off between phases. So phases 1 and 2 are really easy. Phase 3 is extremely hard. There's a ton of robots, and they'll get in your way. And these robots are special. They do that. They just explode repeatedly. But we're going to walk over here, hit it twice, dash cancel, hit it twice, and that is time. So this is my submission video for The Girl and the Robot. This game has been basically my speedrunning addiction since I picked it up. It's a ton of fun. It's a really unique and pretty game. Also, for the run, I would very likely be able to arrange developer commentary. The developer of the game, Flying Carpets Games, has been really receptive to us speedrunning the game. They've been retweeting some of our, new discoveries and stuff like that, and I have a feeling that they would be interested in having their voices heard on the stream. I know I have some questions that I would like to ask them. And this is the end of the game. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for considering The Girl and the Robot for GDQx. This game is awesome. I know it looks like a lot of other, indie PC 3D games, but it's really unique and a lot of fun. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you consider it fairly for Games Done Quick X.